Welcome back to the channel, everybody. We're at the USS Midway Museum today. Some really neat displays. This is a real SBD Dauntless, and I was just checking out the dive brake and flap actuators here. It's crazy how this works. Is one actuator, and it slides this bar, which pulls these levers here. Crazy. I would have never thought. Very interesting. Super cool, man. These things are rough. Big rivets. There's a real Wildcat over here too. The Devastator is not real. It's a mock-up from the movie, I think. As far as I can tell, this is a real Wildcat though. I didn't realize they had windows on the bottom. A little bit smaller rivet than the Dauntless. They're not quite as huge. It's neat that they let you get up close to this stuff, because most museums don't. Haven't been in this museum in quite a while, so hopefully see some new stuff in here. I'm thinking about donating the SB2U to the museum if they'll take it and display it somewhere. There's only one of those airplanes in existence, so a model would be about their only option. And the Vindicator was used in the Battle of Midway, so it would be kind of cool to see it somehow put over there somewhere where it could be viewed. Now, Michael would like this one. Think how small this thing is. It's crazy. My, how things have changed. Dash 4 Corsair. Cool little bird dog. I'll be taking some pictures of this, as I might be turning my top RC Corsair into a Dash 4. I don't know why they did that. It's kind of funny. Very cool. I'm not sure why they put the ailerons down like that. Interesting paint touch-up. That is the one section on the Dash 4 that is completely different from a Dash 1, the whole underside belly. Very interesting. And they had these, I thought they were like actual veins, but they're just like, I don't even know what you would call those. Check out that. Very few RC models get this area correct. There you go, Michael. There's your bird. Oh, cool. They got a moving cutaway motor here with a 2800.
come here.
So you can see we got the supercharger right here. The carburetor's right here, suck into the supercharger and then goes in through all the intake tubes. These are all the gear drives for the accessories. Oil pump, generator. Very cool. Let's come around to this side. So you can see the prop drive and gear reduction. Crazy. You even got the top hat. That's awesome. Nice little Texan here. Got a Avenger here. Done up in George Bush's markings. Man, that's a big airplane. The Avenger is just a monster of an airplane. Well, let's go outside. Well, we'll start off with the Panther. This side, pretty sure this is the one the free-wing markings are done after. It's got some mid-kills. This is pretty dang cool. Last time I saw this airplane, they had the main struts jacked all the way up. It was like sitting super high off the ground. Look at the body flaps here. Very cool. This one didn't have the, oh, I guess it did. Yeah, it's a two-piece body flap, actually. This section comes down, and then the whole thing comes down, so. So we got the rockets on it here. It's labeled as a, oh, this one is a Dash 5. The model that they did for the Fruing is actually a Dash 3, or a Dash 2 rather. And this is a Dash 5. It's got the pointier tail on it. It looks shorter though. Maybe this is a Dash 2, marked as a Dash 5. Interesting how the ailerons are actually hinged on top. Of course, we got a Cougar here. Very cool. It's a Recon Cougar. You can tell by the ridiculous nose. Never did like the Recon nose on these things. It's kind of weird looking. Got a Sweet. Is this the FJ2 or a 3? It's a 3. I remember this airplane being here last time I was here. It's been a while though, so. Fury was a cool airplane that never really got sorted out enough to be useful for any wartime activities. Here's a Cutlass. I don't think I've ever seen one of these in person. This is a pretty recent addition to the museum. I saw some stuff about this airplane when they were restoring it to static condition for the museum. This airplane was at the Gillespie Field portion of the museum where they store all their extra stuff. This is a big airplane, man. Kind of a beast. You could see how they were doing modifications. They changed the inlets on it, trying to improve performance. All kinds of things they did to make this airplane useful. Holy cow, this nose is high in the air. They weren't lying. Good grief. I mean, you fall out of that thing, you're going for a ride. That is way. This is a huge airplane. I had no idea they were this big. Landing gear kind of cool. I like how they go back into the pods here. What a neat airplane. Big old fat wing. This is another one of my favorites, T2 Buckeye. This is the later version with the twin engines. I got a picture sitting in this airplane from like, geez, I don't know, 15 years ago or more. I think my wife and I came to this museum when she was pregnant with our first son who just turned 18, so that was the first time I came here. And it was a scorcher of a day. She was like 7 months pregnant or something. I mean, went and hung out with Chris Wolf and his wife for way too long. Actually, you know what? She was pregnant with our second son. I'm sorry. So that was probably 15 years ago. Got a nice. There's a Prowler. Yeah, we got a Prowler here. Looks to be wearing her original paint still, which is kind of cool to see. Canopy open. That's kind of neat. They got this one displayed like it's being worked on. They got the engine bays, and it's got motors in it still, which is pretty cool. You know, some of these Navy airplanes were just hammered. I mean, when they are on deployment for long periods of time, they just not in great shape. This fan's pretty cool. It's got a different paint job on each side, so we'll get to some of this stuff on the way back. It's a shame the sun's on that side because it's hard to see this thing. And this is definitely a cool paint scheme, though. I like this one for sure. You know, the problem with modeling a Phantom is choosing a paint job, and the A4 is the same way. There's so many cool ones. It's like, how do you pick a single paint job? I love the Navy paint schemes, but I also love the Southeast Asia paint schemes. I also love some of the more unique ones. So, like, I don't know, I just need like a dozen of each so I can do all the schemes I like. This is a really cool Aggressor F-18 here, no, Top Gun F-18. Got the MiG-29 paint job on it. Of course, we got some pretty cool helos over here. Radial engine powered helicopter, which is pretty cool.
How you doing?
Good morning.
Any questions?
No, sir. Thank you, though. This is actually one of my favorite helicopters when I was a kid. My dad had a book. I want to say it was on the cover, maybe, or inside the cover. Anyways, a big picture of one of these things. I like them because the landing gear was cool. They are kind of different. Unique landing gear. Sea Sprite. Very cool. First we got a Chinook right here. little Black Hawk. Make sure you pronounce that correctly. And we have a handful more of pretty cool airplanes on this side of the boat. We got an A6, which, you know, if you grew up in the 90s like I did, watched Fly the Intruder about every other day. And it's one of those airplanes that's not particularly pretty, but still a neat design. And these airplanes saw a lot of activity during Vietnam, that's for sure. Powered by two of the same engines that the A4 Skyhawk uses, so 2 motors, same as the Skyhawk. They do that a lot in the Navy, so that way they share engines with multiple platforms to make servicing easier, replacement of parts easier. It's a big airplane too. And if you look at the landing gear on the A6, you'll notice that the main gear are very similar to the main gear found on the F-14. Same company. And very similar landing gear. I would imagine they weigh similar weights, because it's a big bird. Here's an airplane that probably doesn't get enough love. Neither does its older brother, the F-8 Crusader. And the A-7 Corsair 2 is another workhorse of an airplane that's not very pretty, but still a unique and very cool design. This, of course, the Corsair 2 by Vought, called the Slough. Won't tell you why. You can look that up on Google. Here we have the Crusader, which is known as the last of the gunfighters. Supersonic carrier-borne fighter. You can tell it looks very similar to the A7, just a lot sleeker. And these were fast puppies. Mach 2 capable airplane. 420mm cannons in the nose. Quite a different airplane than the A7, even though they have similar design cues, but quite a bit different in execution. Man, that has a long duct. Similar landing gear design to the A7, but not exactly the same. And of course, the F8 had this really cool wing jacking device, which increased the angle of attack of the wing. So, yeah, not many airplanes had that feature. F8's a really cool airplane. And here we have an airplane that uses some A7 landing gear parts. This is a Lockheed S3 Viking. It's another really cool airplane, which never really got a whole lot of love. This is a submarine hunter / aerial refueler, and like a lot of Navy airplanes, they had more than one task, and there was different versions for those different tasks. Another airplane that would make a really cool model, and some guys have made them, and they fly amazing. Now, I don't know, this might be the same motor as an A10. I'll have to look that up. It might be right. T-34s. Could be. I'll have to Google that. But a pretty cool wing folding. See how they overlap each other. They don't fold symmetrically. One goes to the front, one goes to the back. Crazy. That is a mean looking airplane right there. Crusader's a cool jet. Would definitely like to model an F8 at some point. It's just a cool airplane. Relatively simple, minus the wing jacking mechanism.
Throughout the ship while conducting museum operation.
That's funny. we have the Scooter A4 Skyhawk. These airplanes saw so many different uses in the Navy. It's pretty amazing, and they were used for such a long period of time. It's one of those airplanes that they just managed to keep finding uses for, and it just kept doing a job. So this is I don't know if it's an E or an F. It's an F, it says in the back. So this is one of the later versions, not quite the latest version though. Love the Skyhawk. Cool airplane, man. And of course, we all know this one. This is an early Tomcat. You can tell by the afterburners on it. It's A model. Those TF-30s, I think, is what those motors were. So I modeled one of the Black Lions F-14s for mine, but it was a later version that was a low-vis paint job. It's kind of cool. They got a clear window where the cannon drum sits. If you've never seen a Tomcat up close, they are a big airplane. It's a big bird. Who doesn't love a Tomcat? Now let's go back up front, and there's a couple more airplanes up there to check out. Alright, so this is one of the cooler airplanes on board. This is an RA-5 Vigilante. Another really big airplane for a boat. Mach 2 capable. This one's a reconnaissance version. The A-5 originally was designed to be a medium-sized supersonic nuclear bomber. And after they decided that ballistic missiles were a better way to deliver nuclear payloads, they kind of skipped on the whole bomber idea and turned this into a reconnaissance platform, which actually served quite a bit in the Vietnam War as. So the original design was to drop the bomb out of the back in this section right here. This would, I don't remember if it'd break away or just open up, but basically they would pull up into a climb and essentially poop the bomb out the back like a torpedo tube. It would slide out the back, and the airplane would turn back the other way during the vertical portion of that maneuver to get away from the nuclear blast. And that's how they were going to drop the bombs. You can see this pod on the bottom here. That's where all the cameras were kept and the various sensors that they were using. A5's got a pretty unique set of landing gear. Wish I could tell you how they work, but essentially they rotate and fold up into this bay right here. But again, another really big airplane. It's a monster. And Vigilante is definitely one of my favorite airplanes. It's a super cool looking design, almost like a fixed wing F-14 with one tail. Very similar, although this came quite a bit before the F-14. But they did see service at the same time for a short period before the A5 was retired. I want to say in the late 70s is when they retired the A5s. This one's seen better days, but it's kind of cool they got them set up like they're being worked on and stuff. Show some of the ground support equipment and all that. This looks like a Greyhound. Yep, this is a Greyhound. So this is a transport version of the Hawkeye, which is a multi-use kind of airplane. Looks like we can go inside here. Let's check it out. There's more room in here than I would have thought, to be honest. It's not tall enough for me to stand up in all the way through, but most of the way. So these airplanes were used for cargo and transporting men and equipment. So kind of like the Navy's U-Haul truck. You can put a lot of people in the back of the U-Haul. You can put a lot of crap back there too. And I think, I don't know if this is a tracker or a provider. It might be can't tell. I'm not that. It's a provider. So trader. I'm sorry. Not provider. Trader. So this is a similar concept to the Greyhound. So this was a tracker, which was originally a anti-submarine design that they changed into a transport slash utility type airplane, and this was replaced by the Greyhound. Again, this is based off the tracker, which like I said was a submarine anti-submarine design. Same motors and props as a T-28 Trojan, the later version for the Navy. Same prop, same motor. It's a single row 1820, making a close to 1500 horsepower and a very distinct sound. Probably one of the cooler sounding radials out there, honestly. And to be fair, this is actually a fairly clean design. It looks kind of frumpy, but pretty efficient wing design and airframe to where they get super long loiter times and super long range. Very cool. I'm gonna take a look inside the Buckeye cockpit here. Okay, we're up on top of the Buckeye here. So this is made by North American. This was the predecessor, or I'm not predecessor, but the follow-up to the T-28, which they also produced. So this is one of the Navy's first purpose-built jet trainers, which flew quite a few years. I want to say they didn't retire this until the 80s. So I think they came out with this in the mid-50s. The original version had a single engine. Of course, this is a later one with a twin engine, like I was saying earlier. Wing is actually loosely based on the FJ1 design, which, if you don't know about the FJ1 was the original Fury. That was kind of like a straight wing F-86. And the landing gear and the wing on this airplane, I don't think they're an exact part for part swap from an FJ1, but they're very similar in design. And Buckeye is a cool airplane, another airplane that doesn't get a whole lot of love, kind of forgotten, but definitely an airplane that saw a lot of service with the Navy, trained a lot of pilots, much like the T-38. Spent a lot of years training new pilots. So very interesting. They got raised rivets on a lot of this. That's kind of crazy. I would have thought this would have had flush rivets, but I guess they weren't too concerned with speed. So they weren't horribly slow either. In the mid 400s, maybe close to 500 miles an hour. I had to look that up, but anyways, cut it off right there. Just kind of wanted to show you guys the airplanes displayed on the Midway, and yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one.